Hello, everyone. This is Nathan Bridges from Nathan's Nuggets, and today I'm with former Fresno State quarterback Marcus McMaryion. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate you having me.
Anytime. I'll start with my first question. How old are you when you started playing football?
Yeah, so when I first started playing football, I was actually 7 years old, and at the time, they didn't have like the miney bites and all that kind of stuff. So you actually had to be 8. So I remember my parents had to like fill out a special form. We had to say I was years old so I could play football. So yeah.
So like you have to say that you were 8 years old, so just so that you could start playing.
Yep, exactly. So I was 7 at the time. We had to say I was 8, but I mean nowadays, I mean they have like, I mean kids are like 5 and 6 years old playing now. So back when I played, it was only 8 years old. I think was the cutoff.
Yeah, now it starts like at Mighty Mites.
Yeah, it's super young now, man. It's funny watching those kids run around. They look like big old bobbleheads running around. Their helmets are bigger than them and stuff.
Did you play any other sports?
Yeah, so I actually played all 3 sports growing up. I played basketball, football, baseball, and then I started running track in high school. I actually played on USA baseball team my freshman year in high school, and I actually played out in and so it was a good time. And then actually stopped playing baseball right after that and just kind of focused on football. But yeah.
So right after you played for USA baseball, you stopped playing it and focused mainly on football.
Yeah, so I pitched when I played baseball, and I was going to football camps during baseball season, and the motions just a lot different. And I was throwing the football, and it was just coming out like a kickoff, and it just wasn't really working out for me. So I decided to kind of go the football route.
So it was kind of like interfering with like your throwing.
Yeah, definitely. So football is more of a kind of like bring it back, and baseball's like over the top and down. So it was kind of affecting my throwing motion a little bit. So my parents always kind of pushed me a little bit more in football. So I loved football too. So it wasn't too big of a decision for me.
So that was just what the sport that you loved the most. So it wasn't hard for you to make up your decision.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, baseball, I love baseball and everything about it. I definitely miss playing baseball, and it was fun just competing and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, there's nothing compared to football, especially being a quarterback, having the ball in your hands every play and the crowd. I mean, there's 50,000 people. You don't get that kind of stadium at a baseball game. I mean, you might get a lot at a baseball game, but definitely not 50,000, 100,000. So I kind of fell in love with that part of it too.
A different environment.
Yeah, 100%, a lot different.
What was it like playing for the Dinuba high school football program?
Yeah, I loved it, man. They actually, it's one of those towns where everything kind of shuts down on Friday, so everyone can go watch the games and stuff like that. As far as Friday night goes, obviously everything open during the day, but definitely a lot of pride in Dinuba football people have in that town. When the team's winning, it feels like everything's going good. So I mean, I loved every year I had at Dinuba was a good one.
So it was fun. Like every Friday they would close everything down so that everyone would go watch the games.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's sometime I'll have to send you the video at this, but we have a cool thing called like the Green Mile. When we walk up to the stadium. We have like all the police officers. They line up and they set their sirens off, and a bunch of guys have Harleys on the side of us, and they're in their engines and stuff like that. So it's super
Ah,
cool. You like feel the vibrations and stuff when you're walking by, and then the fans are screaming at you too, and it's dope, man.
that's crazy. You must have like a fun thing to look forward to like every week when you're about to come out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a huge kind of hometown advantage, kind of having that when you had a home game. Definitely kind of get that vibe and get energetic for the game.
It got you pumped up like every time you're about to play.
Yeah, definitely.
What was the best game you had in your high school football career?
Yeah, the best game I actually had was against CVC, and crazy enough, it was actually one of the closest games we played to. I think we barely won like 27 to like 14 or 21 or something like that, but I passed for I think 501 yards. Also, I ever threw for in a game in high school, and that was my coach was cool about it too. I didn't know what I was doing. I had like the game was pretty much over, and I got 498 or something like that. And he was like, "You're almost at 500. Like, let's throw one more slant or something like that, so you could get to 500." So he's pretty cool for letting me do that.
That's cool how so you threw for over 500 yards, and that's cool how your coach let you do it since you're at like 498.
Yeah, no, so that was really cool. I was right around the 490 something, and he was like, "We're gonna throw one more pass." It was like at the end of the game, we're like, we probably should have been running the ball because the game was over. But he's like, "Hey, one more pass. Like, we'll get this one in for you." And I was like, "Appreciate it."
When did the recruiting process begin for you?
So recruiting for me kind of picked up honestly kind of late for me. I didn't start getting recruited till after my junior year. So my junior season, I played really well. I pretty much led the state in California. I had like 43 touchdowns, and I only threw, I think, receptions, and I didn't throw a pick till playoffs. So it was like kind of a lot of hype around that. And then going into my senior year that summer, I played on a 7-on-7 team out in LA, and that's when all kind of the hype started picking up, and I started getting my offers, and everything started rolling in.
So it's like after your junior season, like you had a big season, 43 touchdowns, like you're on top in California, and then it started going after your 7-on-7 in LA.
Yep, 100%. And honestly, I kind of got a late start compared to most people. Dinuba was kind of known to have some really good quarterbacks, so I actually didn't even play varsity until my junior year. I was on freshman football my freshman year. I played 3 games of JV, and then I broke my collarbone. And then I started varsity as a junior, and then my senior year as well. So I mean, I only played 2 years of varsity. I mean, you got a lot of guys who play freshman, sophomore, all 4 years. So I only played for 2 years on varsity.
So you didn't have it as long as like some of the other guys who are starting like freshmen and then going.
100%. I mean, it just kind of made it worth it. Like I said, I was doing really well when I played on JV, but I ended up breaking collarbone like the third game of the year, and kind of just, and then I got pulled up for varsity just to kind of practice. I didn't play at all, but just and stuff like that. Kind of got to enjoy that and experience it a little bit.
You got the like experience that you're ready for when you started.
Yep. So they're kind of just trying to give me a feel for what it looked like and stuff like that. So I was excited to kind of just have that opportunity.
Coming out of high school, what made you pick Oregon State?
Yeah, so I picked Oregon State. Obviously, I fell in love with the town, man. Kind of being from Dundee was kind of a small town. Corvallis at Oregon State's a kind of a small town vibe too, which is really college town. And I fell in love with the staff too, Coach Riley. I mean, he's a guy, just super down to earth guy. I mean, he knew my sister's names, he knew my mom's name. He was always asking how they were doing. It was always just a lot more than football. So that's really what I fell in love with at Oregon State.
So you like the town in Corvallis, and they would go like deeper than football, like they were involved, like they knew your family.
Yeah, 100%, man. That's the reason why I ended up choosing Oregon State. I knew I had other offers from like Arizona, Washington, all the other schools, but I definitely got the vibe from Oregon State that it was a lot more football, and definitely experienced that when I was there. They really cared about you on and off the field.
What were you feeling before your first college football start?
My first start, I want to say it was against Weber State, maybe when I was at Oregon State. It was a home game. I was really nervous because it was actually there was 2 quarterbacks. One of my good friends, Seth Collins, actually, we were both like co-starting. Like I would go 2 series, then he would go 2 series, and we were going back and forth. So I was really nervous, man. More excited than nervous, but definitely nervous just because it was still kind of quarterback battle, and you didn't want to mess up, and you're trying to like be perfect and stuff like that. So I think as I kind of got older and mature, I kind of learned to just go in there and play and not worry so much about trying to be perfect, but just have fun and kind of trust yourself.
So like you're nervous and like because it wasn't like firmly like your job, you're still rotating like co-starting.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. So I was definitely nervous, just kind of wanting to do good and excel and all that kind of stuff. But it was great, man. I've enjoyed playing at Oregon State, and then obviously playing at Fresno State, my first start there. I forget who it was against. It might have been like Nevada or something like that. It's always good. You always get goosebumps. I mean, no matter your first start, your last start, I mean, you always get a little nervous before the game because, I mean, you care, you just want to perform well.
Like every start, like even to like the Arizona State game.
Yeah, man. Even up to like especially that one. That's one of the Vegas Bowl, man. I was nervous for that game just because I mean you put in so much time and work and effort, and you just want it all to kind of just go right on game day, so you don't want anything to go wrong. Obviously, stuff is going to happen. You're going to have to bounce back. So I get nervous for just about every game I play, whether it's a Mountain West Championship, Vegas Bowl, or just a regular old game in the season. I mean, I'm not Superman by any means. I get nervous too before the game, but just kind of trust myself that I've done everything I can to get ready for it.
So since you did all you could do to prepare and you were ready for it.
Yep, exactly, man.
What was the moment like for you when you beat Oregon in the rivalry game?
Yeah, man, that was awesome. It's definitely one of my highlights of my college career. That was the only game I played in where the fans actually rushed the field after the game, and that was crazy experience. They tell you to like grab your helmets, grab everything because the fans are gonna come rush the field and stuff like that. So I got a couple really cool pictures out of that experience and stuff with fans and getting interviewed right after that moment. I know it's a big deal out there. You're an Oregon State fan or you're Oregon fan, there's really no in between out there, and they don't have a professional team, so it's definitely a big game.
So it was like the only game where the fans stormed the field right after, and like in Oregon, that's the game since they don't have a professional team. It's either Oregon or Oregon State.
Yeah, exactly, man. So I mean, you think California, you have tons of colleges. I mean, like USC, UCLA, Stanford, Fresno, all these things. But then you have all the NFL teams too. You have the Chargers, you have the Niners, and all these different teams, the Rams. But I mean, in Oregon, I mean, you don't have a professional football team out there. You just have the Trail Blazers, and the NFL is like Oregon and Oregon State out there for them. So it's a lot of pride in it.
What made you decide to enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, that was definitely kind of a difficult decision for me. What kind of was the determining factors after my first year there, the staff that originally recruited me actually left. So I actually never got to play for that staff. So it was just kind of a bumpy road ever since they left, and just kind of wanted to be a little bit closer to home. And it was Fresno State was the right fit. Coach Tedford came, and I got connected with him, and I mean, the rest was kind of history from there. I mean, Tedford's obviously has his experience with quarterbacks and how he's developed them. And I mean, till this day, I mean, I actually just got a phone call with him like 2 days ago. We're on the phone for like an hour, just kind of talking. So he's definitely one really good friends of mine still.
So the coaches that recruited you, they had left, and you wanted to be like closer to home. And since Fresno State had just hired Jeff Tedford, and how he, like you said, he's a great quarterbacks coach, like with Aaron Rodgers at Cal, and so it was just the best fit for you.
Yeah, no, it all everything just aligned right, man. I mean, he has, like you said, Aaron Rodgers, and having coached and all the success he had at Cal, and then I had played against him when he was coordinator at Washington while I was starting at Oregon State. So he had mentioned that to me too, that we kind of crossed paths there too, because he was at Washington before he went to Fresno. So he had kind of seen me play already.
So he had already seen you play since you played against him when you're at Oregon State.
Yep, exactly. So it all kind of worked out. It's crazy how that worked out too. Just super random. I would have never known that he was going to be the head coach at Fresno State, and I was going to end up playing for him.
Didn't he play quarterback for Fresno State?
Yeah, Tedford played quarterback for Fresno State too. I always joke. He always tells me that I was way better than he ever was. But I mean, he was a heck of a quarterback too. He's really good. He played out in the CFL for a couple of years too with Calgary.
So you have like a similar path.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's kind of crazy. He played at Fresno, and he actually played for Calgary. He's told me stories about up there too. So I got a couple little local spots I gotta go hit because Tedford recommended them, so I'm gonna check them out too.
Your first season at Fresno State, you played at Alabama. What was it like playing at Alabama?
That was awesome, man. I mean, just the vibe and the experience, and obviously their stadium is something else. I mean, those guys are for sure basically like an NFL team almost, like playing against those guys. So I mean, it's definitely crazy playing against them. But I mean, at the time, it's cool to see that just like anyone else. I mean, they're not supermen or freakish dudes. I mean, they're just normal guys too. And it was kind of cool to play against them, and just the fact that they're always on the biggest stage and probably one of the best colleges, if the best, past like 10, 15 years. So it was really cool to play there.
So it was a cool experience and like playing with a lot of guys, like playing against them who are like in the NFL now.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience, man. Obviously, tons of respect. Just kind of lining up against Nick Saban's probably one of the greatest college coaches to ever coach in college. So it was awesome to say I was able to play.
The year where you lost to Boise State, 17-14, in the Mountain West Championship. After that game, were you motivated to get back there the next season?
Yeah, man. That was definitely. I remember after the game, just kind of sitting in the locker room before everyone else was on the bus already. I was still kind of sitting in the locker, kind of just hitting me, and I just remember telling myself that I never want to feel this feeling again. And we pretty much got to work right away as soon as we got back. I mean, we might have taken the weekend off, but I know me and a handful of other guys, we just started working out and throwing literally that Monday when we got back, saying we're going to come back and we're going to win this thing.
So you and a few other guys, you started like just throwing that Monday when you got back and were ready to get back there, which you did.
Yeah, man, we took a whole Sunday off and then came back on Monday and started working out.
That's crazy. After that game, like just took one day off and then came back.
Yeah, it was really the easiest thing to kind of get our mind off the loss. Really, just like, all right, let's get back to work and do what we know how to do.
What was it like playing Boise State at the Smurf turf?
It was cool, man. It was a good experience. I mean, there's just a lot of hype that goes into that field. That feels like it's super cool to play on the blue turf. You know, it's like you first get there, like, man, this field is dope, and then after that, you're kind of just like, it's not that cool anymore. But I mean, when you first get there, your first time ever playing there, it's kind of cool to see. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of hype that goes on around the country and stuff like that. So I mean, it's cool to see it your first time, but I mean, after you play there 2, 3 times, you kind of get used to it and you're kind of locked in on the game.
So it's cool at first, but then it's not as cool once you just get used to it.
Yeah, it's cool for about 10 minutes when you're warm up for your first time. And then after that, you're just like, oh, it's just another turf.
You played there 3 times, right?
Yeah, I think so, around there. 2 or 3 times, something like. Yeah, I think 3 times. You're right. Yep.
What was going through your mind when you were about to take the snap on the play where you pitched it to Ronnie Rivers and he scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime?
Yeah, man, that game was crazy. Actually, if you rewatch that play all the way from the beginning, you see me. A lot of people don't know. I actually looked at the clock. If I would have had probably like 5 more seconds on the play clock, I was gonna switch the play to something else, and I'm glad I didn't because it ended up working out, and it was a great play, kind of Fresno State history. I kind of walk up to the line and I think about switching the play, and I was like, man, I don't have enough time, so I back up, just let it ride, and ended up pitching off the read key, and then I get tackled, and I didn't see Ronnie, but then I just hear the crowd go silent, and I was like, man, he scored. And then I see our whole sideline just rush to the field, and it was a great feeling, man.
So if you have more time, you were going to change the play?
I was gonna flip it to the other direction, so it ended up working out.
Good thing you didn't since it worked out.
Yeah, exactly. So it worked out good.
I remember watching that whole game. Like, I just remember watching that whole game.
Yeah, it was a crazy game, man. It kind of started off with like a little sprinkle. Actually, it was just really cold at first, and then it started raining a little bit, and then next thing you know, it was just snowing, and then a couple minutes later, I mean, there's snow all over the field. It was crazy.
What was it like winning the Mountain West Championship?
It was awesome, man. I mean, what I always tell people, what I remember most, kind of thinking back, like in the moment, I wasn't so like, oh my gosh, I'm a champion. Like obviously that was really cool, but it was more just kind of the flashbacks of like what it took to get there. It's like, man, we had such a long season and all the early mornings and late nights of watching film and practice and yelling at each other in practice, just like all the random stuff, conditioning all summer and being dead tired after lifting, still going to practice more. So it was just nice to kind of have that every day off in the long run.
So it's like all the flashbacks, all that hard work you had to put in to get there, and that knowing that it all paid off.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was, man. Just kind of getting that trophy is like, man, okay, like everything I did, everything I worked for, like it was all worth it in the end. Like I'm able to be the last team standing in the Mountain West and hold up.
What was your favorite moment from Fresno State?
Man, there's so many of them. My favorite moment is probably the Vegas Bowl, maybe not so much because of the win itself, but just kind of like the last, I guess, hoorah, like the last go around with all the guys, and that's definitely the one I'm probably gonna remember the most, just because, uh, I mean, the team, I mean, they welcomed me with open arms. A new kid on the block when I got there my junior year. Nobody knew me. I didn't know anybody. I knew some of the guys from high school. Like I remember and stuff like that, but just the fact that we were able to go out on a win and on a high note, whether that would have been in a random bowl or the Vegas Bowl, whatever, just my last game, wearing a Bulldog helmet, like representing Fresno State as a team, that was definitely the most memorable one for me.
So in the Vegas Bowl, since that was your last game for Fresno State, and in college football, representing Fresno State, like having the V and the Bulldogs.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. It's the last time be able to represent the victory V on my helmet and just pretty much just go to battle with all my guys, man. That was an experience, and I'll never forget it.
And ending on a win in it too.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, from now until uh, the day I'm not here anymore, I get to say I won my last college game, so that's awesome.
How many NFL teams have you ever worked out for?
I worked out for the Raiders and for the Saints for the two. I did mini camp with both of them, but when I was at the East West game, we did a ton of like, I mean, a bunch of mental tests. I mean, stuff for like the Jaguars, for Houston. I mean, for Dallas. There's just a tons at those All-Star games. You think it's like a fun All-Star game, you get to play in, but it's really like a big long job interview, doing different like interviews with coaches and doing board work stuff and different tests and stuff like that. So probably 5 or 6 teams I end up doing either mental stuff or physical workout for.
So you got like a few teams like the Saints and Raiders. You went to their mini camps, like so the All Stars not as like fun as you think. Like it's like a long interview.
Yeah, exactly, man. The All-Star game is I mean you're learning a new playbook. See, we were running Tampa Bay book, so we were learning their offense, running their plays, and then you have kind of your meetings, your lunch, and then you're meeting with just different coaches from different teams. You have different scouts asking you questions. As soon as you finish with the Jaguars, the Texans guy might be waiting for you, and as soon as you finish with that one, you go to another one, and then you got to go run the meetings, and then you got to go practice, and you come back. And it's a lot, man, for sure.
That's a lot of work. Like you got like it's nonstop.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's the biggest thing in making sure you find time in there to learn the playbook and sleep.
What's it like playing in the CFL?
So I'm excited, man. It's a different game. I mean, actually, you have an extra on the field. The field's a little bit wider than an NFL field. The end zone's a little bit longer too. I think the end zone's 20 yards and 10. So it's a different game, man. And I'm excited to just be a part of it and just go out there and kind of experience what it's like to be a professional.
So it's like slightly different, like the field's wider and the end zone is too.
Yeah, so it's a different game. There's only downs out there too, so it's different than the NFL or American football where you got 4 downs. So it's different, but I'm excited for it.
There's only two.
Yeah, so it's
Uh,
definitely different. A lot more passing, not as much running, so a lot more throwing. So that'll be
So it's a good place to be a quarterback.
yeah, exactly.
I know you just became a father. What does it feel like?
It's awesome, man. I mean, it's hard to really even put it into words. Just kind of looking at my son and looking at him is kind of just a whole nother level of motivation, I'd say. Just looking at him and wanting to be able to give him the world and all the opportunities that I had in life and the ones that I didn't, want to make sure he has just every chance to kind of make it to the next level like I did.
It's like it's more like even more motivation. Like when you look at him and like to give him the experiences like that you got and the ones that you missed.
Yeah, exactly, man. So I mean, the days I don't feel like working out, I look at him and I'm like, man, that's my motivation to go work out right there.
Who is your favorite football player as a kid?
My favorite quarterback actually growing up when I was a kid was Vince Young when he was at Texas. My grandparents lived in Texas, and I always wanted to go to the University of Texas when I was growing up just because Vince Young was there. I mean, they're always having their battles with USC and the Rose Bowl and Tanner and Bush and all those guys. So I would to Vince Young for sure.
So Vince Young, he was always your favorite, and you like Texas because of him.
Yeah, yeah. So I always wanted to go to Texas because of him, and he was just, I mean, he was a heck of a quarterback when he was in college.
Like how you mentioned, they're always having their battles with like USC.
Yeah, no, it was good, man. And obviously being from California and watching Reggie Bush and those guys, I mean, he was a cheat code for sure when he was in college.
Yeah, my dad went to USC.
Oh, dang, that's what's up, man. That's really cool.
Do you try and model your game after anyone?
Not particularly, not anyone in particular. Honestly, what I do, I feel like I've always done my whole life is just find quarterbacks that are really good at something and kind of take that from them and just kind of make it a little bit of my own. So I feel like I'm always kind of a mixture of a bunch of different quarterbacks and quarterback coaches. I mean, someone might tell me something and I might think it's the best thing ever and I'm going to use it. And someone might say something that might work for them, but it doesn't work for me. So just kind of finding my own groove in it.
So like you kind of did your own thing. Like you maybe like saw something from a quarterback that you liked and made it better. And it's like a mixture of quarterbacks, and then it became your own game.
Yep, exactly, man. I try to take a little bit of everything. I'm always open ears and open minded. Whatever everyone wants to talk about or show me, if they think they found a better way to do it, I'll try it out and just kind of see if it works for me or not.
It's like you're always open to if someone tells you something.
Yeah, all the time, man. I'm definitely don't think I know it all by any means. So I mean, I'm always learning and always growing.
How would you describe yourself off the field?
Yeah, off the field, I'm pretty laid back, man. Honestly, everyone who knows me, I'm pretty mellow guy. I mean, just kind of hang out, go to flow kind of guy. I mean, I kind of like a homebody, really. I like to hang out at home. I mean, you kind of see my bookshelf back there. I like to read in my spare time, and I play video games and stuff like that. I mean, it's like a normal, it's like to do kind of hang out at home and play video games and stuff.
So you like you're laid back and you like to hang out at home a lot, like play video games. Like you say, you have a lot of books, so you like to read.
Yeah, definitely. So reading, playing video games, I mean, hanging out with my family. I mean, football kind of takes so much of your time up. I mean, throughout the day, I mean, you have meetings, and when I was in school, I mean, you have school, and I mean, when I have free time, I really just wanted to hang out. I didn't want to be out doing different stuff, so I just wanted to hang out.
Then the last question I have is for fun. You get to take any 3 NFL players to dinner. They can be past or present. Who are you taking?
Yeah, man. I've been thinking about this one, and I'm not 100% sure. I know someone who I for sure would want to is Jerry Rice for sure, just because I grew up a Niner fan my whole life, and I think it'd be super cool to sit down next to him. And I knew he was a crazy, just a workhorse. Like the amount of times he would like work out in the morning, then work out after practice, and just like crazy. So just being able to kind of talk to him, I think pick his brain for a little bit would be awesome. And um, I think being a quarterback, I'd be crazy not to put Tom Brady in that mix and sit there and talk to him. I mean, that dude is playing at a crazy level, and to do it as long as he's been doing it, obviously he's doing something right. So for sure, Jerry Rice, Tom Brady. That third one, man, is kind of a toss up. I don't think anyone's locked in for sure on that third spot, but for sure Jerry Rice and Tom Brady.
So for sure, Jerry Rice and Tom Brady, like for you growing up as a 49er fan, and he put in a lot of work, like you said, and then Tom Brady just being the best quarterback of all time.
Yeah, exactly, man, for sure. Those are my for sure twos. I could think of a third one maybe, but I'd probably just be making it up on the spot. But I know those Tom Brady and Jerry Rice for sure are those guys that I would want to sit down with.
So you grew up a 49er fan?
Yeah, yeah. I grew up a 49er fan, still a 49er fan. My dad was a Niner fan growing up, so I kind of piggyback off that and was like, you know what, I like the Niners too.
I like the 49ers also.
There we go. I knew I liked you for some reason.
Yep. We'll be back next season.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be all right.
I wonder who will be the quarterback though.
Yeah, we'll find out, man. I don't know. We'll see what they do in the off season.
It's probably gonna end up being Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel like.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they just paid him a lot of money, so they'll probably end up rocking with him for a little longer.
All right. Thank you for joining me today. Those are all the questions I have.
Yeah, perfect, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on, man. Like I said, really dope that you're doing this, man. Keep going, keep interviewing as many people as you can. I mean, you're only going to get better and better, and it's cool that you're reaching out doing this, man.
Thank you. I will. Thank you for being a part of it.
Yeah.